live with it. I've already put my disclaimer. The comments are not edited. We just go with what's on the main slide. Is that good? We don't need to waste our time trying to work it. Are you okay with that? We just go into the slides.
Should.
So, yeah. So I've been doing this. We're in chapter 3 today, and it's pretty much titled "Preach but Don't Preach." And that's deliver the message, but don't be go to the point. Don't just give the fluff or be or miss the reason for which you're communicating. It's like when we say preaching to the choir, right? Choir doesn't. When we say preaching to the choir, it kind of resonates the Southern Baptist choir when they would be repeating what the preacher is saying, meaning they're not really hearing it for themselves, but they are simply reflecting it back to the people. You get that picture. Pastor say, "And they be saved," and the choir will say, "And they be saved." They are not necessarily listening to it for themselves, but just to re-echo it to other people. But the key word here is that when we're passing a message, we should be more after our target, be objective about it and not be subjective. And just giving out fluff. A lot of people in communicating there. By the time they're done, you really don't know the reason why they spoke. Jim Rohn would tell you that the essence for communication is action. If after someone has spoken to you, you don't know what to do, then it was a waste of your time. Because the essence of communication is action. After you are done delivering your message, the question is, so what? What should we do? Right? If there's no action from your communication, then it was a waste of time, because the essence of communication is action, right? Because you're similarly telling people, wanting people to see the same picture that you are seeing. Hence, they should be in the same place with you to do what you want to do, right? So let's go into the main chapter itself. So T.D. starts with this quote in starting chapter 3, and it says, "I have come to believe over and over again that what is most important to me must be spoken, made verbal, and shared, even at the risk of having it bruised or misunderstood." Right? So he's saying that at the expense of what might occur, I hold it to the world. I hold it to people around me to share the picture that I see, the vision that I have, right? We all see the world in different ways, right? Our perspectives are different. And it doesn't matter if we grew up together in the same house, right? Two people growing up in the same house don't see the same thing. Two people growing in the same house don't see their parents the same way, right? They are the same. Twins don't see their parents the same way, because we're all different. We're all different. For the same parents, you'll be surprised that twins can see their parents diametrically opposite. And the parents are doing the same thing. Because we truly don't see reality. We see things as we are, not the way things truly are. Because we subject what we are looking to the judgment of our experience. Right? So it's good to hear from people, and that's the power of diversity. Because when it comes to diversity, you're able to get several perspectives to the same thing. That makes it so that you're able to get something closer to what reality is. Because you are seeing, different people are seeing the same elephant. One is seeing the tail, one is seeing the trunk, one is seeing the legs, one is seeing the head, one is seeing the side. By the time you hear from all of them and piece all of that together, you probably be closer to what the elephant really is than to just hear from one that is seeing the trunk and tells you elephant is a trunk. And that person comes and says elephant is a leg, elephant is a tail, right? Just saying from one source, you might miss the fullness of what reality is, right? And that's a problem with some people, some cults, where they only listen to their head oh, their pastor knows everything. That's all they ever listen to. They are blinded because their pastor is human, not God. They can only share with you to the extent to which his humanity allows. So if that is only the person you listen to over your life, you will miss a lot of things because it's not just one person. It's limited to his perspective of the issue, right? Thank God a lot of people are freeing up today, especially with technology also. You know, I'm not saying you should listen to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, but just listen. But there's more than one person, more than your pastor that knows the truth, right? So if you can judge and know the people that you listen to, at least more than one, it will help you to be able to get a better perspective of what the truth of life is than listening to just one person. Am I clear so far, T.D?
Yeah, so I think some other person joined.
Yeah. Kevin joined. Kevin,
so
you're welcome.
When you say what you said about the pastor, I look at those quotes and honestly, it doesn't sink, in me well because it's talking about what is important to him. And like you said, people are the mirror through which we see ourselves. And talking about people and their pastor and assuming the pastor is always right. Actually, for this quote, what is important to him, which is what today we see in the current country we call our own, where people are doing what they think is good and which is important to them. And it doesn't matter whether it's important to the others or not, but that is wrong. So I agree with you, we have to, because the Bible says there is wisdom in
the multitude of counsel.
Yep. So, and that is the best because then you can see things from different perspectives, and when you piece them together, it can make a whole,
yes,
how it should be. So, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. All right, I'm going to slide 4. So TD says, how you construct your message determines your impact. So he's just saying that, how you construct your message determines your impact, right? So, I mean, there's this popular saying we say, there's a message you want to preach, which is different from the message you preached, which is different from the message that people heard, right? And but it is one person preaching, again. So knowing that there are those tendencies of people hearing something different from what you say, you will need to take extra effort if you want to be a communicator. Because you can stand in front of people right now and say A, B, C, D, and all the people hear is Z, W, X for several reasons. It might be because though you were saying A, B, C, the way you were moving your hand was communicating something different. Right? It might be because of they had not had lunch or they had not had dinner, they were fasting, they have some other, they just been laid off. So everything you are saying is being interpreted by the reality in their life. So that's why you have to, if you truly want to make impact, right, you have to know your audience, know what you want to deliver, and ask yourself the best way to communicate it to them. It's like you go to a place, a village where people are not well educated and you start speaking big grammar, right? You're just making noise. Or you start using words that are bigger than them. Or you go to a place where their language is different from yours and you have to go to an interpreter. And you start using words that the interpreter cannot find the right meaning for. You have lost those people, or you have told them something exactly different from what you're trying to communicate. Right. So it's important to know your audience, know your message, know yourself, and ask yourself, how best can I communicate this to them that I can get the result that I desire? Right. So there is a preparation to communication. Right. I'll go on to slide 5. So TD says it's important to note, however, that the word preach sometimes carries a pejorative connotation. In this usage, preaching is directive, prescriptive, often authoritarian, frequently self-righteous, right? So that's when you say, don't preach to me, right? So there are 2 ways you can use the word preach. You can say, you are preaching to me, some people when people are preaching, when people use that, they are saying that you are seemingly condemning them. You are seemingly, just putting their sins before them. You are not saying it out of love, right? Typically when people use that word, that you are started preaching, meaning that they are counting you as one that is just telling them how sinful they are, right? So there is a way people see preaching from that angle, right? Though that's not the fullness of the truth of what the word means, but that's what it has come to mean in some circles, due to examples of some preachers who rain hellfire and brimstone, right? So that picture has been pretty much captured by people, so that when they're talking about preach, that's a picture they see. Someone like just raining down hellfire on their head, right? But the real word preach is not that. The real word preach is simply just communication, right? So just looking at it. And that's why T.D. Jakes used that heading, that preach but don't preach. I mean, communicate, but don't just do it in a way to castigate the people, right? All right. Stop me at any time, or if you have any question, any contribution, any comment, go ahead.
Preach and all that, the most important thing to understand there is the intention. I know you
yes, absolutely.
Because you talk about how the people say it, especially within our place. So they're saying it because they have a purpose and objective. So they're not saying it for anything other than to make sure that they create fear and have people under subjectivity, to them.
Absolutely.
And so they're actually doing the right thing as well. What I'm saying, to achieve their aim.
Their aim, but yes, yeah, but it's not that. But that aim is not a do-good aim. It's actually called witchcraft, right? Anything you do that bypasses the conscious mind of a person to talk to his unconscious mind is witchcraft. It's called hypnotic. Is hypnotism. Hypnotism is simply communicating directly to a person's subconscious mind. That's what hypnotism is, right? Hypnotism is not someone going to sleep. Hypnotism is suspending a person's conscious mind so you can get to his subconscious mind. And we'll do it. If I'll probably get to share how that is done. And I can hypnotize a person. I can hypnotize you. I know the skill of doing it, but it's witchcraft, right? But it's also accepted in medical terms to do, right? Those are the ethical part of it, because it's also used for people that have mental sickness to be able to talk to their subconscious mind as part of their healing process. So there's the ethical part of it. So if you're doing it for the person's good, it's ethical. But if you're doing it to be able to gain mastery over the person, it's unethical. It's witchcraft. Do you understand me?
Yes, you're right. I mean, I agree with you. You're right.
Hey, Kevin, feel free to contribute also as we go along, if you have anything you want to ask or anything. So, are you hearing us, Kelvin? You're there, right? You're hearing me?
Yes, I'm there. I can hear you.
All right, awesome. So we're on to slide 6. So he says that the key to preaching like an artist and not an antagonistic begins with your attitude. Just like you said, the intent, Chidi. He says it's your attitude, right, that makes a difference. Identifying and connecting with your audience is essential, right? So the difference between whether you are talking down to people or you are helping them is your attitude, right? If you see yourself as, I'm the righteous one, they are not righteous. Oh, I'm the good one, they are not good. I'm the one that sleeps with God in the same room. These people are devil people, and you are speaking to them from that angle. It is what they typically call is you are preaching to me. That you are looking down to me, you are raining hellfire to me. You think you are holy, we are not holy, But the best way to be able to communicate and reach people and touch their heart is when you associate with them, you come down to their level, become equal to them as it were. It's called empathic communication. You can feel what they feel, right? So that you can talk to them as if you are talking to yourself. You, as it were, place yourself in their circumstance and assume that you are where they are. And how would you want someone to talk to you if you were in their same shoe? Then you talk to them that way. That is the best way to pass a message across, right? If you can talk to them in an empathic way, then you can easily get your message across, right? That's one of the skills, in communicating, right? I go to slide 7. So just as a blueprint helps a contractor bring the architect's vision to life, an outline or structural overview of a message provides you with a visual for navigating its content. So you're just saying that if you have an outline helps you when you want to communicate, right? If you want to communicate, you need to be able to have an outline. As it were, Stephen Covey would say that everything is created twice, right? So if you want to speak, you need to envision it in your mind, do a plan, right? And you can put whatever you're seeing in your mind down on paper, but you need to be able to see your message from beginning to the end ever before you go give it, right? You don't go give a message you have not prepared for. You don't go give a message you have not envisioned for, right? And that's why some people are able to preach without notes, right? They don't need notes to preach because they've run through the message so much time that it becomes a part of them. They are preaching their life out, so they really don't need a note, right? If you develop this skill whereby you can envision your message and run it so many times in your mind, it becomes you. You can talk. You don't need a note to preach, and that's why someone like T.D. doesn't use a note to preach, right? Someone like Stephen Fortick doesn't use a note to preach because they have internalized the message, right? And so it's for you to get the best output of your communication, you need to envision the message, do an outline for it, see it from the beginning to the end, ever before you go and deliver the message. Draw the outline, know why you are saying what, how you want to start, how you want to get to the high note, and how you want to take it on. You need to be able to envision that, and that's what you call the outline, right? You write for yourself. And I'm in slide 8 here. So it says outlines keep you grounded. So if you have an outline, in the whole church, people used to preach as a spirit led. So they preach for a whole day. People used to sleep in church. In my old church, we used to sleep in church. We used to stay in church late. Years ago, over the years, it reduced. Well, years ago, the pastor doesn't know when to say stop. He'll be preaching for 2 hours. That is his own day of work, but that's supposed to be our own day of rest. He doesn't work during the weekday. We go to work on weekday. Sunday that we're supposed to rest, they keep us in church, preaching. Yeah, we have long forgotten about the message. We are thinking about the week, but he's still preaching. And that's because they don't keep notes. You have to. Today, thank God today, a lot of them are wising up and they're able to be more focused. That people's attention span, if you preach for 6 hours, people are very tuned up from your message and just making noise. Today our attention span is not that good. So if you really want to have impact, make your message as short as possible so that people can get the core of the message. When it starts getting too long, people have lost you. You're just making noise. You won't say anything about that, Kevin T.D. Am I saying the right thing or tell me your own experience?
No, I think I was having in mind to talk about if the way we working in the industry, we split our training into sections of minutes and all that, and then going to church, the pastor will be talking, I wouldn't call it preaching, talking for over 4 or 5 hours, whether some of those old women, because me, I get lost, so I don't know whether they also get lost.
Lost. I'm thinking about their profit, their markets. Yeah, go ahead. Hey, Chidi, we lost you. I'm not hearing you.
I was just saying.
You are done. All right, great. Kevin, do you have anything you want to say to that? You want to contribute anything to that before I go on? Kevin, you want to contribute anything to that before I go on? You want me to go on? All right, Kevin, we'll catch up with Kevin. It's not hearing me, I guess. So you need to have an outline. You know, when I started seeing all of these younger people preaching for 30 minutes, the same thing is we preach for 6 hours. And their 30 minutes is more impactful than the 6 hours they preach. You know, it's because of lack of training. It's illiteracy. When you start preaching for unnecessary long hours, it's illiteracy. Because you are wasting people's time. They've left you a long time, you're on your own. You know? So, but an outline helps us, right? To be grounded, to be focused, to center on the main points. You know what you from your outline, you know, this is what I want the people to get. This is what I want the people to do. So I'm already know how I'm going to expatiate it to them. Then how I'm going to bring it home such that they don't lose the main point of the message, right? That helps you with an outline. You envision already how you want to deliver your message, right? So it says that the outline will give you a skeleton, a scaffold, a structure. You'll get all of that from your outline. You know, beauty. You know, that's the essence of education. And all of them, they used to lie to us. It's the Holy Spirit. That's the Holy Spirit leads. They should tell us as their flesh leads, right? They are preaching out of their flesh, their feeling, but they call it the Holy Spirit. But thank God we are wiser today. We know that they are lying. You know, slide 9. Once you have the bone outline in place of your message, you should look for what I call a bend, right? There are those areas or moments that carry energy, that pack a punch. The key is to find the energy, the emotion, the passion. All right. So what he's saying is, you know, after you have done the outline, you need to be looking for, you don't just want to talk and people just listen to you in the same syllable, right? You need to determine what is your main message. What is it that you want to leave the people with? After I've spoken for 30 minutes, when they leave, if there's only one point that they want to have, you want them to have at the back of their mind, you need to find a way that you climax at that point, such that it will leave them some kind of a memorial of that thing you want them to live with. You look for where that thing you want them to live with. So you need to find a way that you structure it such that that message you want them to live with is not lost in the midst of all your words, right? I'm on to slide 10. While you are in the preparation stage for your message, it's also critical to spend some time determining the need of your particular audience. You see, that's why we say you need to know your audience. I mean, there's no use coming to talk to people about something that has no bearing on their need. I mean, people go to church and all the pastor is talking about as if he's preaching to people in Houston, whereas he's preaching to people in Lagos, Nigeria. I mean, you have lost your crowd. You are preaching to yourself, right? Because you are speaking gibberish, right? So any communication that does not have a connection with the people you are speaking to is a waste of everybody's time. You need to know your audience. You need to know where they are. You need to know where they want to get to. Then you have to make your message in such a way that it will help them on their journey of life, right? It might even be something they are not aware of. But when you know where they are, you have to give them something that will increase the quality of their life, whether it be spiritual, psychological, or physical, all right? But you need to know your audience. You cannot go to an educated audience and be talking about something that the village people is for village people. You cannot go to village people and be talking to them about something university people will appreciate. You need to know your audience, you know, so you don't speak gibberish, right? Slide 11. And he says that once you know the who, you need to determine the what, right? You know the people, what do they need? As in, what is the goal? What does your audience need to hear? Or what does your audience expect to accomplish? The best way to do this is to ask direct questions. So you need to find out about your audience. You know, if you don't know, then ask the people that might know. It is critical to pay attention to your audience during the actual moment of communication. That's also important. Even though you know your audience, when you're preaching, there's a lot of feedback that goes on while you're preaching. But you have to be careful. This can both destabilize you or it can make you. It comes from experience. If you are too focused on the people, it can distract you from your message. At the same time, there's a way you need to receive feedback from the people, which might mean that you change the way you are talking to them, because it's a communication. While you are talking to people, there are vibes they are giving to you, right? And you need to respond to those vibes without allowing those vibes to destabilize you. Because there are vibes that you can get also that if you're not experienced, you start thinking that these people don't like me, I'm not up to this or that, right? You want to be careful that, first of all, you have to stay in confidence that you have something to deliver. This has nothing to do with you as a person, but you have something you want to give to them. You want to bless them with something. Now, the only thing is about how to deliver it is where you are getting the feedback, right? But you must never lose that place that you are there not because of yourself, but because of what you want to bless them with. So you are bigger than them, because as the Bible would say, the giver is always bigger than the receiver. You are at a higher pedestal, giving them something, right? So there's no reason for you to be shy or to have low self-esteem, right? But then at the same time, you need to then manage what you are giving in a way that it's well received by the receiver, right? Since sometimes the most significant and impactful communication occurs when we are willing to be spontaneous and go with the flow. Yeah, but that comes with experience, because at the beginning, that could also destabilize you. But over time, as you communicate and build your skill in communication, you are able to tune your communication to meet the feedback you are receiving real time from the people. All right. Slide 13 here. It says, be careful not to be overly reliant on devices, right? And, there are people that be reliant on devices. And devices includes your hotline also. I mean, there are people who have traveled miles only to find out that they left their teaching notes back at home, right? So the extent to which you have personalized the message will save you, right? So you have to be careful you have to build yourself beyond devices, whether it be your computer, your paper, something. You need to be ready, first of all, to deliver the message without your notes. Notes should be an added value, not your main message, right? Because something can happen that you don't have that note itself, and you have to be prepared to give the message. It could be your computer you forget or whatever, but you have to be careful because devices can disappoint you for whatever reason. And it says, ask yourself 2 questions. Can you survive without digital assistance? Can you thrive without it, right? If you're confident and in charge of a message, then technology will complement your efforts admirably. But if you are relying on the latest and greatest tech as a crutch, chances are good that sooner or later you'll fall, right? So be careful to depend on other things other than yourself, because they can always fail, right? I'm on slide 14. No matter how much you like it, make sure those receiving your message will find it valuable, practical, and personally relevant, right? Don't be too carried away by your message that, it's when you're communicating, it's not about you. It's always about the people you're communicating with. It's not whether you like the way you're saying it. It's not whether you like what you're saying. It's, are they receiving the message? So you have to make sure that it's valuable to them, it's practical to them, and it's personally relevant. Otherwise, you just wasted everybody's time, right? And as you assemble any message, it's good to keep in mind 2 fundamental pillars. Who cares about your message? So what, right? Whatever you're saying, who cares about it? Do they care about it? If they care about it, what are they going to do about it, right? You don't want to tell them something that they don't care about and they're not going to do anything about. Otherwise, you wasted everybody's time, including yours. So it says, identifying your audience and keeping them in mind. Who cares, right? So who cares is taking care of you. Identify your audience You find out what they need, where they are. That is paramount for impact. But there must also be something worth saying, the heart of your message, that makes some kind of difference to that very audience, which is the so what, right? And I'm on to slide 17 here. If your message doesn't make a difference that makes your listeners' lives better, then don't bother. Put the bones aside and start again, right? It's all about changing life. It's all about changing life. If you're not changing lives, then you're wasting your time. You're wasting the people's time. Remember, preaching is not about preaching at someone, but conversing, expressing, sharing, and listening to those you wish to reach, right? And lastly, spend time preparing, dig up bones, assembling the body, and use the spark between you and your audience to infuse life into the message, right? So it's all about getting your message right to change life. That's the last slide before we go into the study guide. Any question for me, any contribution, something I didn't say well, anything at all?
Nothing from me.
Nothing from you. Kevin, are you on board? Are you okay?
Yes, sir, I'm with you, sir.
All right. No question for me. Can I go on to the study guide?
Yes, you can go on. It's
all right, great.
Where
great.
I would wanted to say something on is not the previous slide, not so reliant on your materials. I remember listening to somebody who forgot his trained materials. I think it was a pastor who went for a preaching, then forgot his materials. So what helped him was being able to he did not rely on his materials. So he could teach with the material. So even when the material came later on, he had already taught what he wanted to teach. Yes.
Yeah. Because he had already personalized the message, right?
Exactly.
And when Dad said something about that, which towards believing yourself. This is my testimony as I teach and I preach everywhere. I have never had to go preach somewhere and I wasn't prepared for that occasion. Meaning when I'm preparing, it's almost like, I feel it done. Maybe I need more. Everything I prepare is always what I needed, even more than what I need. But the Holy Spirit always guides me in such a way that whatever it is I do is all I need. Now, I have to be careful of that balance, because also if I take it for granted, I might fall out of balance such that I might be disgraced. I might not be ready. So my heart here has to always be right, that I do my best. Each time I'm doing my best, when it looks as if I'm not prepared enough, I always find out that by the time I go there, I didn't more than what I did. Right? The other side to it, talking about Wenda, is you have to build confidence in yourself over time that you are enough. Such that even if I don't have a note, not that I intentionally didn't have a note, but for whatever reason, maybe I forgot my note, there's already enough inside of me to deliver the same message without an outline. That has to be the way you develop yourself, right? That means you have to read, you have to continue to evolve yourself, feed yourself, such that without a note, you can deliver a message anytime, right? That's what I do. Every opportunity I get, I'm developing myself, I'm growing. As we're doing this book club, I'm learning new things as I'm reading the book. I don't know when I will need it, but at the right time, at the right occasion, everything we're talking about this will come out. But you see, if I don't put it inside, it will not come out. The Holy Spirit brings out everything I've fed myself with at the right time when I need it. But you see, if I've not fed myself with it, then there's nothing for him to bring out to use at that right time, right? So we don't necessarily develop ourselves for one message. We develop ourselves for the sake of just developing ourselves, because you never know what life will ask of you, right? And the only thing that will come out of you is what you have, not what you don't have, right? All right, let's go to this study one here. Let's look at a few questions here. It says, What's the first thing you typically do to prepare a message you want to communicate with others? So let me start with Chidi. Let me start with you. If you want to communicate, what do you normally do to prepare for a message you want to communicate to others? You want to share anything with us on that one?
So basically, in trying to share something with others, I know it first of all has to do with the audience and the context, in the sense that at the workplace, talking about a project is a straightforward stuff. But when you are, a place to talk about some kind of psychological, whatever, religious things, okay, you need to also understand the people there, because a lot of them might be people who already know more than you do. So first of all is, at the level and the understanding of the audience. It makes a whole lot of critical point to note, so that you'll be able to know to the extent you can grab the message you want to share, and also try as much as possible to synthesize a whole lot of or array of questions that you should expect, and that helps you to prepare and be able to deliver. So that's how I always work on things like that.
Awesome. Great. As I write, I get to write on Facebook, I get to write in Chevron, I get to write across everywhere. And there are things I can say on Facebook, I cannot say on the Chevron website. You have to respect each environment you find yourself. Ask yourself, what are the boundary conditions, right? So there are things that are acceptable here that might not be acceptable there. And I'm getting to learn that with Facebook also. Facebook has had to ban me several times when I get emotional that I use some words which they just catch and just suspend my account maybe for some days. I cannot blame Facebook. They own the environment. So they have already said, we don't want this. So it's up to me if I want to use it to stay within the limits of what they've allowed me. Right. So you need to respect the environment you find yourself, if you want to continue to use that particular environment. That's critical. So Kelvin, what do you do what do you like best about researching and doing prep work for your speech, article, blog, whatever? What do you like best when you are preparing?
Okay, for me, like we said, is to understand the type of the nature of persons we are talking to first. So that help to understand the kind of persons, what is expected, and what is demanded of the person to do, and also understanding the topic in context. So not going to start preparing or making plans for something. A word might mean different things in different languages and in different and places. So understanding the context and what the persons who are inviting or what the topic is about, that's what something else I will do. So it will be a mess up. Maybe an English word means this to a particular set of persons, and what the persons are expecting you to talk about is totally different from that synonyms. So understanding the context and what is expected. So most times, if it's a teaching or a preaching, I get to ask the persons, what do you expect of me? What do you want me to talk about? What aspect of it do you want me to talk about? So understanding the mind of the persons who is inviting and the context they want you to talk on. That's what I think I do about it.
Awesome. I like that. The next question I do have a personal experience in it, but let me hear yours first of all. Let me start from Chidi. Chidi, have you ever been in a place where you had to offer a message without proper preparation? And what happened next?
Oh yeah, I mean several, but the good thing was I kind of, it may not be right putting a disclaimer at the beginning, but that was the way I approached it, and I had to air my view based on what I know about the issue and situation. Yeah, so I've been in such situation.
All right, pretty much use a disclaimer on it. All right, Kevin, do you have any experience of that? Haven't you No, give a preaching you are not prepared for.
I might have, but I don't remember anyone.
Anyway.
I don't remember any.
Anyway, all right, let me give you my example. This is years ago. My old church, my pastor wanted me to preach on the topic, how to influence people or so. You know, it was two of us that were going to preach on it, me and another pastor. And I was young. We're talking about like 20 years ago now. And I knew the message. I knew what I wanted to preach, but I just didn't have everything together to preach it, And this is me. Typically, when I minister, share, I try not to speak from my head. I try to speak from my heart, right? I have a lot up here I can reason to preach, but somehow I don't want to preach from here. I try to preach from here. To preach from here also requires me to be ready, for me to do all my plans, begin hand, everything, That's a power of being able to preach from here, So I went onto the pulpit that day and I said what I could say. There was more I wanted to say, but it was coming from here. And I don't like preaching from here. I like preaching from here. So I shut up. I could not say any other word. So I didn't have words to say, not because I didn't have words to say, but it was going against who I am and what I believe, So I had to leave. The other pastor preached, and he preached so well, some of the things I would have said, just that it wasn't flowing from here. Another time was one of our branches then invited me to preach for 3 days plus a night vigil, And I preached the first day, second day, and I came for the night vigil. And I said a few words, and I didn't have anything else to say. Same thing. I had so much to say, but it wasn't coming from here. It was going to come from here. And I don't like doing that. So I was there with no words to say. And they were all praying for me. It was embarrassing. These two incidents were embarrassing, right? But that was my youth. That's where I'm coming from, and those two incidents drive me. That's why I said I'm always building myself, such that any time comes, I have something already stocked up inside of me to give a message without even needing to prepare, right? That I've had those two incidents in my life before where I was on the pulpit and there was no word to say. It was embarrassing. Thank God it was more than 20 years ago, but that drives me. That's like the fear of yesterday that keeps me always preparing myself, not to be caught all unawares. All right, let's go to study guide 2. It says that we should read Luke 8:40-48. Kevin or Chidi, do you have a Bible close by? Let me see if I can get it off my laptop here. But if you do, let's see who gets the scripture first. Luke 8:40-48. Let me see if I get it before you, but whoever gets it first can read it.
Says Luke 8:48. Then he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." Is that what you want?
All right. That's 40-48.
Okay, and it came to pass that when Jesus returned, the people gladly received him, for they were all waiting for him. Verse 41. And behold, there came a man named Zarius, and he was a ruler of the synagogue. And he fell down at Jesus' feet and besought him that he would come into his house. 42. For he had one only daughter above 12 years of age, and she lay a dying. But as he went, the people thronged him. And a woman having an issue of blood 12 years, which had spent all her living upon physicians, neither could be aid of any. Verse 44, came behind him and touched the border of his garment, and immediately his issue of blood stanched. 45, and Jesus said, who touched me? When all the night, Peter and they that were with him said, Master, the multitude thronged thee and pressed thee, and sayest thou, who touched me? Verse 46, and Jesus said, somebody had touched me, for I perceived that virtue is gone out of me. And when the woman saw that she was not it, she came trembling and fell down before him. She declared unto him before all the people for what cause she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. 48. And he said unto her, daughter, be of good comfort, thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace.
Yeah. So if you're going to preach that message, how would you align it? What will be your starting, middle, end, and what will be the key climax, things you want people to go away with?
So is that for me?
Yeah, either of you, anyone, either you or Chidi, feel free. So how would you start it, middle, end, and what will be the key thing you want the main energy to go into? What would you want people to leave with? What message would you want people to leave with?
I would want people to go with the power of expectation.
All right, great. So how would you then say that? How would you communicate that they will live with that? What would you say?
Okay. I'll paint a scenario of different persons having different intentions.
Yeah.
Our intentions matters a lot.
Yep.
Some persons come with just to see the minister's face. Persons come having expectations in their heart. So the picture I will paint is that persons come and go back having different answers. Some persons, the expectations of persons is what determines what they go back home with. Yep. So not just enough to come to a meeting, but what is our expectation? What to make them have a mind of having an expectation, not just to be entertained in the meeting. I think that's the picture I'll paint.
Awesome. Chidi, would you say anything different? Anything you want to add to that?
Just a bit of addition. Okay, maybe I will not, because I would have said Jesus' power over death and sickness. So the way I'll paint this picture is starting with the scripture that says something about faith without work is dead. I'm bringing to bear the perspective that there is this story I was told about. It was a real life story. You have these, what do you call it again? Motivational speakers. So the guy was on stage and asked that people who want a $50 note. He got $50 note from it. Everybody raised their hand. They needed a $50 note. He said, who really want a $50? One lady in the crowd walked up and collected the money. He said, yes, you have to work for it. If you don't do it, you don't get it. It's not about wanting it or believing in it, but it's taking the action. That is how we all behave. We want something. And if you now, get it, talking about Jairus, he knew that Jesus has the power, and the only way to draw Jesus to where the dollar is. And also the woman with the issue of blood, she knew that Jesus has the power, and she will have to take that action, whatever it takes. So, and that's how life is. We have to walk it. If they say this is it, you jump into it straight. Thanks.
Yep. Amen. Thanks. Awesome. So let's go to the last study 3. It says, who are the audience you communicate most often? Most often, what are the specific needs or motivation of those audience? We don't have to say it, but it's just that your audience and what their needs are. What are the key elements of technology you rely on as a communicator? What are practical, actionable ways to master your specific message without relying on technology? Anybody want to say that? What you do so that if technology fails you, you'll still have the message?
Anyway, in the past, I learned how to do mind mapping, although I've been so slow about it. So I try to use mind mapping to condense and make my outline. And, one picture, it can summarize a whole page. So in case if there's any kind of electronic failure, I can always revert back, look at the mind map card and all that. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
but also I try to internalize it as well. Anyway, just as a backup.
Yeah. Yes. Kevin, anything you do to prepare yourself for any possible failure?
Yes, basically, most times I don't really rely on phones or whatever. Most time what I do, I always go with a note. I like an highlight of the different points. Just have a small write up on different points or sketch the highlights of the different points I want to talk about. So it will help me.
But people have forgotten even that note before. So if you forget that note, what's your backup?
If I forget the notes, then the technology should help me. Any of them.
Well, the key thing you need to drive on is, in case you forget a note, you need to also internalize the message. What most people do is look for a story, sure. Like the parables. If you have a story that summarizes your message, it's easy to go through that story in your mind and preach your message. Because the truth is that you truly can preach your message without your notes, because your subconscious mind has already recorded your message. The thing is that you have not yet married the power of your subconsciousness enough to trust it. It's like me when I type. My fingers know where each number is. I can type with my eyes closed, because even though I'm looking at it, my fingers know where each letter is, because I've typed so often, I type so fast. But I'm still learning to trust my fingers. Even though my fingers know, my conscious mind is not yet trusting the fingers. So there's still that gap between what my subconsciousness knows and what my conscious mind can trust. But what we need to get onto is that place where we get to internalize the message, find some way whereby we can summarize that message. One of the reasons I read engineering was because I can read one page and write a book. Because in engineering or math, all you need to do is understand the concept. When you understand the concept, you can write a book about it. You see, unlike the other education, you have to read a book to summarize a page. In engineering, you need to read just one page and can write a book, right? So lazy people went to do engineering, right? The people that love reading books went to do the other things. But that's my experience. That's the only reason I went to read engineering. It was a lazy man's course, Yeah.
Lazy man's course.
I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but for me, it was a lazy man's course. It's just like maths. I see a maths problem, I already know the solution. And I don't understand why maths is difficult for people.
That's awesome.
Because once I see the question like this, I already know the answer. So it's kind of second nature, but it's well. Anyways, any last words? Kevin, any last words from you before we close?
Wow. Basically, it's just to say thank you for the session today. It's inspiring. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming. Hey, Chidi, any last words from you?
Nothing. Thanks.
Oh, great. So we'll go on to, I think it's part 2 we'll do next week, but I'll send you the slides before then. All right. Thank you. Have a great remaining of today, and we'll continue next Sunday, God willing. Tomorrow happens to be my birthday, since I won't do this before tomorrow. So at least you know the secret now. Anyways, have a good one. Thank you.
Happy birthday in advance, sir.
Thank you. All right, we'll continue later. God bless you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hey, yeah. Bye-bye. Yeah. Kevin, I think we should, we're going to log out, then we'll log back in and do a quick meeting, Kevin. Let's log out so I can shut down on YouTube. Then let's log back in and do a quick meeting.